Let's begin with Connecticut child support with family law software in the cloud. So what I'm sharing with you is family law software cloud-based edition. It's 100% web-based and you access it with your email and password. What you are also seeing is I have already loaded a sample file. So if you go into settings and you select sample file, you will be able to see the exact same data, the same parties and the same numbers for your future reference. And so today's focus is going to be child support. Most times when you start a case, you don't necessarily jump right into child support. Your child support tools and calculator are going to be located here. And most times we start with a financial affidavit. So know that with family law software, you can enter the information affidavit style. Or if you created a financial affidavit for your client first, when you go into the child support data, everything is going to be there for you. All of the data syncs, you enter it one time and it goes everywhere that you need it to go. When you start a case for the very first time, family law software actually brings you to the child support calculator first, because this is the most popular tool that we have available within our program. The first child support tool that we bring you to is called Quick. The family law software Quick child support calculator is intended for simple cases or for consultations. So if you have a case and you just want a quick number, you can come to this screen and we have a few data points here, which are the children, who's the custodial parent, income, and we kind of end it there. So if your case has overtime and tips and bonuses and other deductions that are not on this screen, don't worry, we have the complete calculator that is located here. And what you'll notice is child support is a live number at the top. So when we switch to the complete child support calculator, you see that the child support number goes with us, which is $457 a week paid by, in this case, Blake. So you don't lose any of your data or your information. It just follows you to the next page. Family law software is catered to your state, and what you're going to notice is that if you practice in multiple jurisdictions, this will not look the same in a New York case. These options will be different. And so the taxability of alimony, we assume that all of your cases are post 2018, December 2018, and therefore there is no tax effect for alimony for the recipient or the payor. If you're doing a modification case, then you may want to uncheck these boxes. So if it's an older case and you're coming back for child support, those are the first two options that you're going to see. If you ever have questions, these blue bubbles are everywhere, and we're going to explain to you what this tax concept is or what the data point is requesting. So look for that. Anything new is always going to be at the top. And then specific to Connecticut is the family and medical leave tax. By default, it will be included. Employers are supposed to include that. And so if you have questions about that or you want to remove it, you are able to remove it as well. All right, so the meat and potatoes. This is where you're going to enter all of the data related to your child support case. If you have never calculated child support before, follow through these folders and you can't get it wrong. This number will change. It's a live number. So let's go into the first folder, which is children. And so in our sample file, we already have two children. They're going to be named Kim and Reese, and their date of birth is going to be located here. The rest. We assume that every time you enter a child that they are of the parties of this particular case and that the child is eligible for child support unless their date of birth excludes them. By default, when you start a file, you will see the names of the custodial parent here, and that custodial parent will be claiming the children for any tax benefits that are available. By default, we will select one of the parents. In your state, though, you normally would want to enter the name of the lower income parent in these boxes. Family law software will not automatically put the lower income person's name in these boxes. You're going to see one of the parties here. So that's going to be that first point. All of the children, again, are assumed to be of the relationship, but you in Connecticut have a special deduction for children that are outside of the relationship. So if, let's say in this case, we have Taylor and we have Blake, let's also assume that Taylor has another child that primarily resides with her and qualifies for this deduction. How would I do that in family law software? I would add a child just the same as I would if it belonged to this relationship. And you'll see that this child has their own independent line. What you want to do for children that were not born of the marriage or of this relationship, you would just uncheck this box. And once I uncheck this box, the software knows that this child is not of this relationship. And then you have your worksheet for here. And it knows that you have two children. We had Kim and Reese originally, and this third child that was unnamed. And that is the one child that qualifies for the imputed support worksheet. This is going to be done automatically. So once you add the child and then remove the child from the relationship, this worksheet is automatically calculating. And you can see everything is in blue. All of this information is now flowing to your child support guideline printout. You'll notice that up here is yellow. The children's names are in yellow, the boxes are in yellow, and then everything else is in blue. Blue means that we're doing calculations for you based off of the data that you have imputed, and you will automatically see the resulting child support at the top. So that's unique to family law software, is going to be that live number. In Family Law Software Cloud, you can use the back button in your browser. So I'm just going to click back in my browser and it takes me right back to where we were. We have two children of the relationship and then this child that only belongs to Taylor. And I can keep on adding more and more children and doing the same thing, which is removing them. And you'll notice that the worksheet is continually updating as you do that. So for our purposes, I am going to delete that third child just so that we can kind of stay here. So who is claiming the child for tax purposes? So your child support guideline requires that custodial parent. And so they're going to be listed here, but who claims the child for tax purposes? That could be different. One parent could be claiming child one, and then this child is being claimed by the other parent. So this is actually a drop down. You have Taylor, Blake, alternating, or neither. So if I select Blake, you'll instantly see the effect on child support. And so that means that while Taylor is going to be that primary parent, Blake is going to claim one child for tax purposes. So you can see that that is something that you can easily change and see the effect. All right, we are going to move on. If you ever have any questions about this, click on these blue bubbles. One of the most common questions we have is, well, what about 50-50 cases? Like they have shared parenting and their incomes are similar, or maybe they're not. So we talked about putting the lower income parent here. You can run it both ways and see how it impacts your case. So right now I can see that child support is $554 paid by Blake. I can easily change all of this to Blake and see how it impacts the calculation. So I'm just going to change this to Blake. And of course, it has a very dramatic effect on child support. It actually switches who the payor is, and the amount is obviously dramatically different. So this is something that you can do live. The other thing that you're able to do at any time is go look at the worksheet and you can go print the worksheet and see what it looks like. But for now, in this case, I happen to know that Taylor is going to be the lower income person in this case, and so I'll put her name in those boxes. All right, and so again, we've got our kids, and that was our first worksheet. So let's go on to wages and filing status. Let me just scroll back up. So now we have the parties on a side-by-side basis. You can see Taylor's making $25,000 a year and Blake is making $150,000 a year. Your final numbers are based off of weekly numbers. So anytime that you enter in a number, pay attention to the pay period. Obviously, not everybody is paid on a weekly basis. Everyone gives the information to you in a different manner. And we'll get to some of those options later. But anytime you click a number field, you're going to see this hashtag. And when I bring up this, excuse me, not the hashtag, the calculator. When I click here, the calculator, you're gonna have your hashtag in your calculator. So if I click the calculator, I could put in any pay period and it will convert it into the necessary numbers. So you don't have to pull out a calculator. You're like, oh, this is weekly, monthly, annual. Don't worry about that. We offer all of those data entries. So however you get the data is how you put it in. Other tax elections. You're going to see this hourly tool here. If you click this box, which is an hourly wage tool, we're going to assume that that party earns minimum wage. It's built into the program. So if minimum wage changes, you log in, it's up to date. So I just checked that box. If on the other hand, I have Blake and he makes $150,000 a year, maybe he's 1099, owns his own business, you're going to notice that there's going to be tax election boxes throughout the software. So as a net income state, this is extremely important to make sure that you are properly tax affecting the party's income. And so everything is gross, we do the taxes for you. Let's scroll down a little bit and we're going to talk about overtime and higher income earners. But first we have the tax filing status. We assume whoever is going to be that custodial parent that they will be head of household and the other parent is single. That might not be the case. So we do have a drop down. So for that other parent, they may qualify for head of household. So know that this text, if you see text you didn't enter, it is a drop down, click it and you can make modifications. Taylor, we said that she was an hourly employee. If you recall, she's making $15 an hour and we assume 40 hours a week. If you want to do an overtime analysis, we have that built into the program and it is located right here, worksheet for overtime hours. So why don't we check that out? So if I check the overtime, this is going to be your overtime worksheet. So we said overtime income weekly. So let's say she's making $100 extra a week in overtime. We said that her normal hours were 40. Number of overtime hours worked, we'll just say like 10. And so you put in the information and family law software knows to do the calculation. And we also know that you guys max out at the 45 hours. So they could be working 60 hours a week, but we're gonna cap it at that 45. All right, let's go back because we have a couple other worksheets as well. So we talked about the 15, the 40 hours and how to apply the overtime to the case. Let's scroll down. The worksheets for higher income parties. So your net income statute is going to end, that table ends at $40,000 combined net income. So let's click on this. In this case, no, the calculator is not working because they don't have the income that is above that cap. But if you have two professionals and they are your clients and they're coming in for child support issues, it's very common for them to go above the guideline. So what do? Let's go back and let's increase this income just to make sure that we 100% get there. All right, and now I'm going to scroll back down. So I've increased the gross income to $300K a year, and then we're going to go back to our worksheet. And you'll see the first question has changed. It's automatically updated. So that's the beauty of family law software. You enter in the data and then we know what to do. So now that we know that their combined weekly net income is over $4,000, you have two options. Number one, you could go print your guideline right now based off of the cap. Or we will calculate above that if you just check this box. And so you'll instantly see the effect here. So if I stick to the guideline, you can see that child support is $581 paid by Blake. If I pop over to the higher level that we are allowing, then family law software will update child support and calculate it at $656. So this is a great way to be in mediation, stay ahead of the mediator, show your client the different options, best case, worst case scenario. And so you have that available. If not, you can do a negotiated amount. All right, so let's go back. So I'm going to click the back button again, and it brings us, we're still hanging out here, which is the wages and filing status, gross income that we were playing with. All right. Let's go back down to where we were last. All of these worksheets, let's click the last one, which is our income worksheet. These can be very valuable attachments or exhibits. We do not automatically print them for you, but if you want, all you do is click PDF in the top right-hand corner. And so this can be a valuable attachment. You can see what their W-2 salary is, any other types of income, everything is going to be summarized here. So while we have not gone to every income and deduction section yet, this is continually updating. Everything is in blue, because it's pulling from the financial affidavit and the data that we have already entered. So again, these can be valuable attachments. You just click PDF and it will open up your PDF viewer. So let's go back. I think that's the last worksheet, the extra worksheet that we have. All right, we've got 2 more folders based on income. Why do we have so many income lines? It's because every source of income is taxed differently, could be or is. And so I call this funny money. These are all different sources of income that the parties could receive. And you can see here we have a taxable or non-taxable button, so you can make those adjustments here. All of these are going to have an impact on child support, except for government benefits like SNAP. So if you're wondering why that's there, Family Law Software is also building budget reports. And so if you click on this blue bubble, it'll say, don't worry, that's not going to be a part of the child support calculation. Or if you click on another bubble, we'll explain to you what's going on there. So that's intended to help guide you through the program. Last section is going to be other common types of income. We have them separate. And so these are based off of requests within your state. So if it's a common source that users have requested, then we pop it in, taxable or non-taxable. You can use these lines to further specify the income source and the type. So if you recall, so remember trust income, it says monthly here. So if I click this box and I click the calculator, I could put in the annual amount instead, and it will convert it into monthly for me. Right, last folder for income purposes. If you have older clients or wealthier clients, they may have minor children and they are already receiving dividends, interest, etc. And this is going to be the folder that you would go into. Also businesses, if the parties have a business, I'm not going to spend too much time in here. It tends to be rare, but if you represent high income clients or older clients, this folder is going to be very useful. All right, let's go into the final folders, which are going to be some deductions. All right, let me scroll back up. All right, deductions. So payroll deductions. You can see this section is all about Taylor, and then this section is all about Blake. It is not side by side. Health insurance per week. Most people don't pay their health insurance on a weekly basis. So if I click here and I click the calculator, I could say that I know that they spend, $500 a month. And so now I've calculated all the totals. I click OK at the bottom, and then the weekly amount appears for me. So don't pull up the calculator, just use the calculator function within the program. You'll notice that these fields are yellow. So we're asking for that. I'll say dental is, $2 a week. And so you'll see in blue, we have the divided amounts, and then we total the numbers for you. We're going to do that for Taylor, and we're going to do that for Blake. And so last is going to be mandatory retirement. Make sure that it is mandatory. Just because they have an employer matching program, that doesn't mean mandatory. The same thing with the union dues. And so let's say that they do have a mandatory amount here, and then they pay $10 in dues a week. The last one is to check if it's mandatory and deducted by the employer. We're going to skip the payroll deductions for Blake because they're identical to Taylor. They work in the exact same function. So we're just going to move on to the next section. If you've entered mortgage payments, taxes, etc., in your affidavit, it'll already be there, or you can go into the worksheet for that. This is a little tricky for Connecticut. So if you remember, I talked about yellow fields is where we want you to enter data, and blue fields is where we're pulling information. This information is actually pulling from the income and expenses section of your financial affidavit. And so if you ever forget that and you're wondering why are these numbers blue, and you're typing them in here and they're turning red, like, yes, they're properly affecting child support, but they're red, and that can be a little unnerving to users. So the note is telling you to go into the income and expenses section and enter it there. So that's going to be child support paid on other relationships or spousal support paid on other relationships on a weekly basis. And so if you ever forget that, this note is essentially telling you to go into the income and expenses section and enter it there. It matches your affidavit, it matches your child support worksheet. Are you seeking a downward modification? Great question. Just check the box and see what happens. Check it. Impact, no impact. Check the bubble, and we'll explain to you the statute, the guideline, where the rule is coming from, and what we're doing. It's a quick box to check. Local taxes. So while we are calculating federal and state taxes, if there's a local tax, pop it in there. It's pretty easy to find, usually on that pay stub. Disability insurance, life insurance policies, you're going to see all of that here. Again, there's a lot of deductions. If you want to have your separate worksheet, just click worksheet and you can see, did I do it right? Did I enter everything correctly? What are the final taxes? We're going to have the deduction worksheet for you. Keep in mind, a lot of these are obviously flowing either the net result or the individual results to your final printout, and you can click PDF here to make this an exhibit or attachment. Great. That's it. So let's go into results, because I want to make sure that, well, let's talk about the arrearage, sorry, because there's several worksheets in the arrearage. So if you go into the arrearage, we have 3 worksheets, and I'll show you where those go in the printout in just a moment. So childcare expenses, you can pop them in here on the weekly basis, or you can check out the worksheet. And so if I click the worksheet, it's going to show you the full calculation. And what do we mean by the full calculation? So she's spending $300 a week. You can also say she's spending $100 a week. And we're going to divvy that up based off of their income shares. And so that's what this worksheet is about. You enter it here, and then we show you how we're going to allocate it on the final child support worksheet. You can turn this into a PDF just so that you can show how we did it. And so again, you have that. And then always look for this last one. So we call this suggested. And so if I click this number will carry to the worksheet, that 184. And I'm going to show you just in a minute. So we've got 3. We've got the childcare expense worksheet, we've got the medical worksheet, and then the arrearage payments worksheet. So again, you can type in the number here, or you can go to the worksheet and see the breakdown. The yellow is us asking for all of the medical that they're paying, and then the blue is us calculating their share of medical expenses. So the total medical expenses, broken off based off of their income shares. And then that last worksheet is going to be here. Where do these numbers go? I'll show you. So let's go to print. At any time, you can go print. So if you want to print one worksheet with mom, the other worksheet with dad, however you want to do it, anytime you can come here and print. This is the worksheet, and then this is like your child support table. So here, if anything is wrong or missing, you can go back into your data and update there. If you want to print this version, just click PDF. You're going to see all of these blue fields are going to be the calculations that we have done for you. Any text that you see in blue is a note for you. It's not going to print. So it's showing you here the overtime calculation that we did, and it's just reminding you that we did that. Here it's showing, well, the income tax is negative. That can be very confusing to users, and we're explaining to you why it is negative, and it's because of taxes. So scroll through. Anything is missing, anything is incorrect. Again, go back to your child support calculator, type in those numbers. If you have questions, check out these bubbles. Some of the worksheets are going to be located here, so you can see that we have that incomes over 4,000. So if you want to go back and print that worksheet, make a PDF, or remove that calculation, you can easily do so here. You're also going to see notes. So if you want to add a note that prints with your worksheet, you can easily do that here. And then all of the calculations are going to be located here. The worksheets that we talked about, so there was the arrearage that's going to go here. That was the worksheet that we showed you in that last section. And then the medical, we have that here. And then the child care contributions, that's where those breakdowns are going to be. Or instead of doing the worksheet, you can manually enter them here or enter them on the calculator. So those are available for your use. So we don't want you to change the blue fields. we did math. But when you have the yellow, that's something that you can add on to the worksheet. Right, and then we're going to scroll down. All of these checkboxes for deviation are available. They're all in yellow, so you just click whatever you need to click, you just click, and you're done. It's just that simple. So you click PDF, and then it's going to print this version for you, and you are done. If this is not the number that you were expecting, child support $784 a week paid by Blake, remember you're a net income state. So if every line isn't matching whoever you're comparing your child support to, the big one is going to be the taxes, the tax calculations. So if something hasn't been entered, you're going to see that you could have a different result. And you just go back into your child support calculator, find the correct line, make the update, and you're done. All right, that completes our child support webinar for Connecticut. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Our email is support@familylawsoftware.com. Help is included in your subscription, and we are available. So please reach out to us. If you ever forget the email or how to reach out to us, it's built into the program. So we have a support button here at the bottom. So these are all resources that are available to you, and you can contact us anytime about your specific case. Thank you for being subscribers, and thank you for joining us today.